Kayla is returning for a
Yes.
round 2, so she knows the
Yes.
deal. And
Thank you,
Lisa
Kayla.
Yeah, I'm happy to do this. I think that it's hard finding a job right now, so anything I can do sort of to help. I do a lot of SDR work, which I think translates really well into job search. So yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. So just to preface the video as and when this goes public and others are watching it. Hi, everybody. What we've been doing over the past couple of months at I'd Hire Me is bringing in leaders from sales, marketing, and across talent as well to share some best practices that they use in their careers every day that can also be applied to the job hunt and really just help candidates stand out in what's a very difficult market at the moment. So I'll let Kayla really drive from here on out. But yeah, Lisa, the stage is yours to bring us up to speed. What's been happening since we all last talked? What are you coming up against lately? And we'll dig into some of your challenges.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so Lisa, I would love to just start out and sort of learn more about what you've kind of been doing in the job search, what you're looking for, your background, and then sort of setting the stage on the steps that I think basically what I want to do is act as someone who can potentially give you that insight into what can I do more into sort of like, basically the way I think about job searches is like an SDR or a BDR.
Yeah.
So what pieces along the way can I help you with and hopefully give you ways to differentiate yourself in that job search or ways to really bolster yourself in that creativity is what I'm hoping to help you with.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. So, well, I'll first start with my background. So I have kind of a unique combination. Most of my career has been in tech, and most of it has been in marketing roles. Demand gen primarily in the last several years, but very much hands-on, both strategy and tactical. But throughout all of that, I also was managing definitely marketing operations and often sales operations. Even though it was never delineated, it was either just built into my job, as well as the fact that I just have an affinity for the process, the tech, all of it. So in my most recent role, my most recent company was a startup. I started the marketing team and everything like that. And then I did that for about 3.5 years. And then I pivoted over and created the sales operations function for the company and migrated Salesforce and all that kind of stuff. And I was laid off a couple months ago, COVID cast off. But I'm focusing purely on like revenue operations, sales operations role. I'm happy to leave the hands-on marketing stuff behind. It's time.
Yes.
So, and I've got the experience. I think what I bring, sort of what I feel like my unique selling proposition is that I have both hands-on and strategy experience all the way through the customer journey. So I was responsible for bringing stuff into the top of the funnel. I was responsible for warming them up. So I've had that experience, but then I've also managed the operations side of it all the way through too. So my ideal, I love the evolution of revenue operations because it just gets rid of all the silos. And I think it just makes so much sense. My sort of ideal situation would be going into a smaller company and either, ideally starting the revenue operations function. If, I've talked to some companies where it's like, well, the VP of salesman has been doing everything, so they don't have a function. So I would love to start that function. Or, if it's already an established function, be in some type of leadership role where I can not only, craft the strategy for revenue operations, but also be part of the company strategy.
Okay.
The things I love about it, the reason I think I excel at it is, for me, it's sort of people, information, and process. Those are the three things. I think for a lot of ops people, it's a lot of it like, oh, they love the tech and they like the hands-on, but which is part of it, and I enjoy that. But what I really like is all the collaboration and learning from people and getting all that information to put it into a process and actually seeing them succeed. I mean, yes, the company, but it's also cool when, something I've done process-wise results in a deal closing faster and somebody succeeding, and I'm there to see it. Like that's the sort of fulfilling part of it. So.
Yeah. And then in your current search right now, what does that look like? Where have you struggled? Where are you looking to get help with?
So my current search, I would say primarily the roles I've applied to have been ones where I've learned about them through a variety of communities, Rev Genus, Revenue Collective, some of these things where somebody posts or says, I know somebody, so I kind of have an in, even if it's not very deep in, but at least something. So I'm not just blind applying. In general, that's what I've done. There's been a couple, but in general, that's what I've been doing. I've gotten a handful of first interviews. Depending on the size of the company, it's either with HR or sometimes directly with the hiring manager. Just kind of depends. They seem to go well. I mean, people, and there's been a couple who are really excited about my marketing background because I can bring that perspective. But then a lot of them end up ghosting me. I follow up, I reach out, I do all the things, and last week there was like 3 of those, and it was a frustrating week. And I'm starting over today, and I had this today, so I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you're here.
I'm here, and I've been doing, I would say, as opposed to previous job searches, I've been doing a ton of, all these Slack communities and things like that, and huddles and lunch club and like all these networking things. I spend a lot of time doing that, as well as spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I've used a lot of hints from some other people as far as, customizing and branding, but totally open to suggestions. I try, I definitely, on LinkedIn, I definitely comment and react to a lot of things. I occasionally post, and like this morning I did a post that hasn't gotten a lot of traction yet. So I just, the whole sort of personal branding is yet another aspect of the job search that wasn't as big the last time I had to look for a job. And so, and I understand it, as a marketer, I get it. It's a lot. So I think, I feel like I'm hustling, but yet, and then I'd say the other, this hasn't been quite a huge challenge, but there are definitely roles I see where, because of the size companies I've worked in or the roles I had, that I might not have the depth of experience in some areas. I'm okay applying for stuff and interviewing for stuff that I may not be, like, I'm okay with that. But some of them have things I quite literally have never done, and I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, yes, I can develop a comp plan for your 100 salespeople.
Yeah.
I've never done a comp plan. So, so there's been a few of those where I see them, I'm like, yeah, this is just not the right thing for me.
So I think the thing to really dig into, I think you're doing the right thing with the community, get referrals, getting in that way. I would also, if you haven't, take a look at like Angel List. I think
I'm on that.
Okay, perfect.
Angel List, startup job.
Yes,
like all
perfect.
Of
Perfect. Yep. You're on the right track. Yep. I think a piece that we can really dig in is that personal brand.
Okay.
I would say sort of looking at your LinkedIn, yes, like I would add more around your about me. So in your about me section, I really personally, I love emojis, but if those aren't your thing, don't do it.
Well, it's funny because some people use them a lot, some people don't use them at all. And I'm like,
yeah. But at the end of the day, it's do what's true to you. So if emojis are very true to myself, like the authenticity, I'm like, this is me. But if it's not,
for me, it's exclamation points, but yes.
Yes, exactly. So what I would go through is add some more in your about me, and don't make it very paragraph-like. Make it very easy to digest.
So more like bullets and single sentences.
Exactly. So if you take a look at my LinkedIn,
I had it up. Hold on, let me take this up.
I sent you a connection request, but if you look, first off, the first thing I would look at, I think you're doing the right thing with what I would do actually is make sure that your image is showing. to people who aren't connected. Because as of now, your image
Oh,
is
it
not
doesn't?
showing. Mm-mm. So that's
Oh,
the first piece. Because then, like, let's say you're reaching out to someone and you want to connect with them, that
yeah.
builds that trust.
Oh,
Just
okay.
having
I'll
that
go back. I
photo.
thought I had turned on everything that was
Yes.
public, but okay, I'll change that. I'm just looking at yours while you're
Yes.
talking.
So that's
Okay.
the first thing I would do.
Yep. No, that's great. I didn't know. So
Yes. What I would also do is maybe potentially if you can't make it into 2 lines. So I would say that's really good for now. I think it's great. You have over 500 connections. I think another piece, like I mentioned, is the about me. I think you're right on the money with the expertise, because people could say, okay, she knows Marketo, she knows Salesforce, she knows whatever it is. What I would do is, based on the roles that you're applying for and the keywords you see, prioritize what comes first in those expertise. So make sure if you're applying to a ton of jobs that say, hey, I need Salesforce for this role, put that as number one. So start looking for trends, and I would actually make a spreadsheet or whatever it is. And when you're applying to jobs, and I know this is an extra step, but you'll start to cater your profile to the people who you're trying to sell to, right? So cater to those people and what's interesting for them.
no, that's great. Yeah, and actually, yeah, I have to go back and look at the expertise because I'm not sure. I mean, I remember when I put that in, but yeah, I'll go back and it's been a while since I looked at that list. So
yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a piece of growth. I think also in terms of experience, I would add more about like what you're doing at Wizard Ops, or if there's some, let's say you've shared a cool piece of content. I know it's harder with the different groups, right? Like Revenue Collective.
Well, and yeah, I mean, and that's actually a question I have because they all want you to put it in your experience. And I feel a little weird doing that because, you know, part of me thought about adding, you know, because you can add another profile section. So I've sort of thought about adding a profile section that's, I don't know, professional communities or something like that, and putting them all down there, because if somebody's looking at my LinkedIn about my work experience, they have to scroll down now quite a ways to get to my last job.
Yes. So my question is, in terms, and I think there's probably a section, I'm guessing, in the under accomplishments or something that you can add that in. I'm also curious, are there any other license, like certifications that you have that aren't on your LinkedIn? Just like something to look at. See, like, are there any certifications?
I mean, the ones at the bottom, the Salesforce and that revenue operations, that's all I have.
Perfect. What I would also do is, like, which of these organizations are going to really get you to where you want to go?
Yeah.
So maybe what I would definitely keep is Revenue Collective.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would keep Rev Genius, because I think Rev Genius is an amazing community, but I think in the trust of building trust with sales leadership, people know about
Revenue Collective.
Okay. Like there's a more, I don't know if the word's prestige or whatever it is.
I mean, it's a different model. You paid. Yeah. I mean, it's a different.
Yeah.
It's a different model. I mean,
yes,
it's networking, but it's just a very different. It's just different. I mean,
exactly.
You know, I paid a chunk of money to be part of it. So.
Exactly. So what I would definitely leave up there is Revenue Collective. I would add a description.
Okay, yeah, I can do. Do you think I should?
So
because I do like. I mean, I kind of would like to leave these, but I'm okay putting them in a different section.
I would probably put them in a different section because people want to see I think that Revenue Collective can be a great connector. Yeah. I think that's a good in. I think though the others, I would add them. So there are also groups that want you to add it so that they can build their reach, which I understand, but you're like paying money specifically for Revenue Collective.
Yeah,
so
no, you're absolutely right.
It makes sense. So that's the one thing I would change. If there is anything that you remember specifically in your role at Managed Methods where it talks about achieved results, that social proof of saying.
And actually, hold on, let me just.
Because
Yeah,
people-
and you know what? No, that's good. I have actually updated that on my actual resume with measurable, but I need to go back and do it here. So
yeah, so I think that's very important. People always want social proof. Like someone could say, oh, well, I led a successful CRM migration to Salesforce and now manage these. Also, I would make these in past tense because you're not in the role anymore.
Yep.
But what I would do is add actual numbers. So like led successful CRM migration to Salesforce and now manage Salesforce outreach and other sales applications. You could talk about maybe how many users you're managing, or maybe
and I think on my resume, I added like, you know, that my processes increased deal velocity and you know, something else. Honestly, kind of guesstimated.
Yeah, that's okay, right? Like if you actually created results, like that's okay. I think just making sure that there's numbers to back it up, if there can be. So, and like
I said, I absolutely did it on my resume, and I forgot to do it here. So thank you. I appreciate that, because
perfect.
I'm on LinkedIn all the time, but I haven't, you know, paid that much attention.
Look at your own profile as much, right?
So, and the other thing I was going to say, so with WizOps, with Wizards of Ops, I mean, I did do a blog post for them, but I can just.
So, did you add that blog post to your content?
I believe it's in my featured, yes.
So I would add it. So what I would also make sure is if you've done something for Wizard of Ops, you know how you have featured content, and you've added featured content in your director of marketing and marketing operations role. I would add that blog there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I put it in my featured section of the profile, but okay.
So I would, with each role, and not everyone's going to look at it, but let's say there is someone and they want to say, what did she actually do in this role? You have something tangible that they can click on and they can do their research. So if you do have different pieces throughout your career, so let's say while you were the director of sales operations and events, if there's something tangible or something you can share, I would definitely add some featured content. So if you actually look at my profile, I try to have featured content with most of my roles in general.
Just go back to your.
For the most part, my experience is kind of all over the place, but for my more recent roles, I'll add it, or if there's something that's applicable. So as you can see, I was on a podcast and I was on some video. I would make sure also on your LinkedIn that for your previous roles, I would still create bullet points. So I would not, because right now for Right Scale, it's a paragraph. And so I would make sure you break it out so people can see, okay, we just want to make basically our profiles as easy to digest as possible. So someone on LinkedIn doesn't want to read, they just want to go through the bullet points because it's easier to digest. So how can we make it easier to digest?
Okay. I can break them up. I think maybe why I did that originally was just, you know, as my resume changed, I got rid of some of the bullet points, but I can, you know, go back and I can reformat them into bullets, and I can also look at maybe what I used for bullets in previous versions of my resume for these jobs and put them there.
Exactly. So I think that's on the experience piece. I think on the other piece, something to sort of, I know you said, well, I posted on LinkedIn, but didn't get a lot of engagement.
Well, it was just this morning.
Yeah, yes. But I think something is we have to remove ourselves from that engagement. If you are offering value, people will come. And the way that I think about it when job searching is that I'm creating value to show people that I know what I'm talking about. So put yourself in the interviewer's shoes and think, okay, what questions are they going to ask me about my background, about my skill set, around the qualities I possess? How can I create posts? And this is like homework that I would give to you. How can I create posts around the skills and traits and experience that I possess? So when you go in that interview and they say, well, what results did you actually see? Or someone probably wouldn't phrase it this way, but do you know exactly what you're talking about when you're migrating to Salesforce?
Right.
Write a post about that. And so you can say, actually, I wrote a post about this. Look. So
and actually, and I'm sort of, as you're talking, I'm thinking, the post I did for Wizards of Ops, I could break up into some of those. And then I just wrote another article that originally for Rev Genius, but they didn't want it. So, but I got some other feedback to tweak it. But again, I was sort of already thinking like I could chunk it into the LinkedIn posts. And then going back to your SDR sort of perspective, somebody also suggested that I could take those and, target people in certain companies and do a drip email campaign with that same information to people in the targeted companies.
Yes. And I think one thing that's,
as I said, I'm like, I should get paid for this stuff.
Yeah. Yes. I should
get commission on this
stuff. So I think that's the big piece, is thinking of, like, I have a content library. And so the way that I think about LinkedIn is, how do I set myself up for success for my future? It's not about today. It's about my future. And so I need to show, and this is why I do podcasts and why I don't post on LinkedIn as much as I did in the past, because I have a lot in my regular job. But if I was job searching, that's all I would be doing. I would be creating videos. I would be trying to get on podcasts. I would be trying to really build my network to build that trust. And then that trust is built. I've actually gotten like a job offer or two because of podcasts, but it builds that trust. And that's all you're trying to do, is say, hey, I actually know what I'm talking about. I'm a trustworthy person. You're not going in cold in the interview. Also, if you have content that you've created and it's relevant to the job, when you're reaching out to someone, you're saying, hey, I'm really interested in this role. You could say, hey, I thought you might also find this LinkedIn post interesting about this value. And something that's really important to wrap your head around is that if you believe in what you're saying, it's important. A lot of times people will get scared to post on LinkedIn because they think, oh, well, what I'm saying is not important. But many people regurgitate stuff, and there are many LinkedIn influencers which don't care about that. It doesn't matter to be a LinkedIn influencer. That's like, don't worry about that. Worry about, how can I add value in the way of my job, and how can I land this role? How can I be relevant and prove that I know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
But you can do it. So
I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. It's just on a, from a personal perspective, the role I left, it was time to leave even before, but it was just not, but so it's also taken me a little while to get back to the point where I'm like, oh, I do know my stuff. I do, because
but you do.
I didn't feel that. And so it's been a little, why should people listen to me kind of thing.
And that's the important piece, is that first step is really just believe in yourself, because you are capable. You had this role, you were successful, so you deserve this next role. It's just, how do you show people that you deserve it? Because and you have to believe in yourself that you deserve this role. But then that next step is, if you don't believe that you deserve a role, there's no way you're getting that role.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Just that.
Yeah, and I think, I feel, I'm pretty sure, I feel like I come across confident and energetic, and all those,
definitely.
Kind of like I'm talking to you now,
Yes.
like when I interview. I mean, this is kind of how I am when I interview.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in my power pose. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. But again, like you said, they're like, well, show me that you know what you're talking about. So
yeah. So it's prove by your actions, rather than just saying, well, I know how to do this Salesforce thing, or I know how to do this outreach thing. Writing posts about and you can maybe shine light on challenges and how you overcame them. And that shows not only that you're familiar with these tools, but like, what challenges did you run into? And then how did you overcome them? And that's showing your problem solving, which not only are you building that trust, but you're also saying, hey, look, I'm a problem solver. And you're meeting that, okay, look at this trait of mine, and then look at this experience. So if you can mix those two, I would also don't overwhelm yourself saying, oh, I need to post 5 days a week. Start with 1 or 2, whatever you feel comfortable with, even creating videos. So something that I preach highly about is video. And I use
know.
video. Yes.
I was talking to somebody about that this morning. I'm like, I just need to bite the bullet and do a few, and then I'll be comfortable with it. But it's, yeah.
So I think that's a way to differentiate yourself. And it's scary. It is. I understand. But if you put yourself out there, it's another, I guess, on the side of trait, it's showing that you're fearless. And that's how I try to live my life, is how can I be fearless? And me sending a video is just like sending an email, but there's a face to it. And so the challenge is we feel like if someone rejects us, it's more personal. But in the end, it's not. It's just maybe it wasn't the right fit or whatever wasn't right. But what's really important is you showing that you can put yourself out there. And so what I would do if I was searching for a job is, if I was getting a referral, I would send a video and say, hey, I looked at this role. I'm really excited about this piece. I think my experience aligns. Super excited to talk. So I think you can tie in video, and because you are getting referrals, that's an important piece. You're not just like submitting an application to a website. You're actually interacting with someone. And I would send a video. I would also do your research on who the hiring manager is. Even if you just talk to the HR person, I would go around and I would reach out to whoever is in charge of whatever department you want to get into. I would reach out to them, send them a LinkedIn request, send them an email with a video, do something that differentiates yourself. And that's what people are looking for.
And as far as video, so, I get it as far as replacing an email.
Yes.
So would you say, okay, so a couple different instances, like, first of all, are you also recommending like video for just regular LinkedIn posts, or more so for the like direct interaction?
You could do both. If you feel like you just want to talk and talking is more comfortable than a post, do that. But I think it's especially important when reaching out for a job. So I think you can use it both ways. So you can do that trust building. People will see who you are. They see your comfortability, your confidence. And then you can also do it more in terms of, hey, I saw that you're hiring, and you'll build that trust with that decision maker. And a lot of times maybe an HR person will stop before because they have a different opinion, but why short yourself?
No, I've had that. I've gotten the reject letter and then had the interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to play your cards right and not just say, well, only this person has my fate in their hands, this HR or hiring manager. Let me go and see who else I can reach out to at the company. Maybe it's a small company and you reach out to the CEO.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is really cool. Elisa sent me this video. It's something different. We're looking for this energy at our company.
So, okay.
If you guys don't mind me jumping in for a second.
Yes.
What can be cool in those kinds of outreaches is to combine something else that Kayla said earlier, which is how you've solved challenges in the past that you can anticipate either through research or by just knowing the space really well that company is actually facing.
Yes.
So if you can add value that way by presenting either in email or video format, whatever it is, the way that you can actively solve a challenge for them, they'll start to be able to feel what it would be like to have you on the team and want more of that before you even really talk to them. So,
okay, so I get the video, doing it, LinkedIn connection, direct message, whatever the. What is your feeling on, video? Say, for instance, I've had an interview. I'm doing my thank you email.
Video. Thank you video.
Right. So is that, but then obviously it's being sent by email as opposed to within the link. Yes. So what do you use for that? Do you use like Vidyard, or what do you?
So I used to be a fan of Vidyard. I've moved away and I've moved to Drift.
Okay.
Drift.
Your first.
No, I've heard that from several people, and to be honest, I've never used. I haven't used either, so I have no preference.
Yeah. Okay. So Drift, you get your first 100 videos free.
Oh, okay, that should cover me for a while.
Yeah. Yes, it should. It hasn't covered me, but it's worth the $13 a month. But what I would do is use it along the way. So how can you continually stand out? And so I have sent the job interview, I actually didn't land this, but for other reasons, but they really appreciate the video because everyone sends a thank you email. They send, thank you for this, but I sent them the video and that was something that was memorable to them. And people remember video. That's why when I'm booking meetings with C-suites at Fortune 500, they don't take meetings. They rarely take meetings. And so video is the way that I've differentiated myself. What I would also do when you're initially reaching out to these people is do your research on them.
Oh yeah.
So not only the piece of, and you can use generalizations also of the, hey, generally what I see with companies of your size, or typically what I see with companies of your size, that they're struggling with these three pieces, and tie that into your experience of, hey, they're struggling to migrate to a CRM and they're struggling with their processes around sales structure and they're struggling with these challenges. A few ways that I've helped my past company do this was this, that, and the other. So I think at least doing some research, and you may find something. A lot of these companies probably aren't public, so there won't be annual reports.
No.
But you can look at what they're posting on social media.
Yeah.
What they're posting on their pages.
Yeah. And then one last question about the emails with video.
Yeah.
In the subject line, I mean, do you? I'm just thinking, like you said, like everybody gets the thank you emails.
Yes.
So if I just like a lot of times what I say in my thank yous, I say like the subject line is like, thank you for the great conversation or something.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, well, if they get a ton of them, will they not even bother? And so should I say, I don't know. Cause I've like from sales reps, sometimes I've gotten emails that are like, you know, here's a special video for you.
Yeah. So I would A/B test. I would have one line that's your go-to. And then I would have one line that's thanks for connecting, video included or something. And then the subject would be.
No, that's a good idea. Okay.
And then the like in the email, I would say, hey, name, thanks so much for the time today, or whatever you want. Maybe there's something that you took notes on that stuck out. I really enjoyed learning about this. I think I could add value. And then I created a video for you. It's less than a minute, I promise. Looking forward to next steps. So
yeah, no, I like that. And frankly, I like it better than the sort of like, I mean, I customize each email, but basically the canned, you know, thank you for blank for the blank that I blank. Yeah.
But like, imagine you can still do the canned message.
But then with the video. Yeah, no.
So that's the authenticity. And especially at a company, like at my company, what they love about me is my energy and authenticity. And that's what shines through. And that's the importance of video, is you're showing who you are. And it's scary because you're being more vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there, but it's amazing because you're differentiating yourself. I assure you that probably no one else who's in those interviews is sending thank you videos. I probably 99.9%. So
well, I've got an interview in an hour and a half, so
perfect.
I'll try it for my thank you after that.
Yes. And also I would use video along the way. So if you make it to that next step, send a video and use that as your leverage to continue to engage them and stand out, because people get hundreds upon hundreds. At the end of the day, it's how can I get above the noise? People get hundreds of applicants, and how can I be different and how can I stick out? And so video is just one piece of that. Mm-hmm. And then that piece of on LinkedIn, creating content to show that you know what you're talking about and that you're experienced, and really tying that in with, and maybe there's companies that you really want to work for and you know that you want to work for, maybe do some research and write up something about an article that you read or a blog post that you read and why it excites you.
Tag their leaders in that post.
Yes, tag their leaders. So do your research on these companies, and maybe you are cycling through, maybe there's 20 companies you want to work at. And of those 20 companies, you find an article of where they're mentioned in the news or something really interesting that you found out, and then go in and create that LinkedIn post and tag their leaders in it. Hopefully it's an article that the CEO wrote or someone who's going to hire you.
Yeah.
So and that's not an ask in that sense. That's
stroke their ego.
Exactly. And that's just a touch point. So you're not saying, hey, interview me. It's just saying, hey, look, I'm here. And they'll
I'm
say,
Elisa.
oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I exist.
And they'll just say, oh, okay, I know who you are. You've differentiated yourself because you're going above and beyond. And that's also shows that you can go above and beyond.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
This is great.
Yes.
It's super helpful.
And you can always reach out to me, send me a video, ask for feedback. I'm happy to
Maybe I'll do a dry run and send it to
you. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what you have to remember with video is we're human. So I'll mess up on video sometimes, and there was a video I sent last week, there were dogs barking, and I just laughed it off and said, I'm so sorry about the dogs barking, but whatever the rest of the video is.
I agree. I think it shows your real person, your authenticity, and especially now, like everybody's dealing with that stuff. So it's just like, and like you said, it just shows you're a real person, and I feel like I can be myself and still be professional and express what I need to without sort of feeling so stiff and formal as it sometimes comes across in the email.
And this is kind of a strange human psychology thing, and Kayla will probably know this, and you might have had this happen to you too, but I've been an SDR in the past, and some of my like best responses and most authentic leads have come from when I make a mistake or someone on the team makes a mistake, and then you actively reach out to correct it. People like love that. They love when other people are willing to just like be authentic and own up to something that happened. And it's like, it's okay. Because then they get to say, don't worry about it. Problem. And like everyone loves doing that.
Yes. And you've admitted like your humility. So I had a similar situation probably 4 weeks ago or ways back, but there's a CIO at Caterpillar. And I reached out to him and I sent him a video, which was made for him. And he wrote an article about how he hates salespeople reaching out. And so I think the title of the video was Not Another Annoying Sales Message. And I did my research on him. And then I sent him a message and called him the wrong name. And so then I realized it. But you have to just admit your mistake. Yes. Yeah. And so basically.
But did you catch yourself while you were doing the video?
So I sent the video to him. The video was to him, but there was a message I sent after that said, I forget his name, but it said, hey, we'll just say, hey, Bob. Hey, Bob, I'm so sorry I called you the wrong name. Maybe I get points for sending you a video, but I probably get points taken away for sending the wrong name. And he said, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And so I sent him a GIF that's of Frankie Muniz saying, I'm going to go hide under a rock now. And he then engaged me because I admitted that I was wrong. So
so I guess my question is like, when you actually did the video, did you realize before you sent it that?
So the video was to him, but the text was another name.
Okay. So the video isn't where it was screwed up. It was
Yeah, in the text. So admitting your mistakes, I think people appreciate that because you're just you're falling on your sword, right? You're saying, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. We're all human. People understand that we're human. I wouldn't say try to make mistakes and then try to cover it up. No. But I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is building your brand on LinkedIn, updating your About Me, making sure that your job titles are fully fleshed out, that you're highlighting skills that are applicable, especially to the jobs you have today. So make sure even with your past roles that those top skills are what is most applicable and then go down. So even if it was, let's say, 5 years ago and something wasn't the biggest part of your job, but it's more interesting to the roles, I would change that order. So be strategic.
Well, and I mean, I did some of that just frankly in the titles.
Yeah.
I tweaked the titles to focus on operations more than it might have been officially, but because it's not entirely made up, it's just a different title.
Yes. And I think also what I would do is if you're interviewing with people or you know who the sales leader is, or who the person who would eventually hire you, I would do also your research on them on a personal level. And I always like to do some type of wrap up of something I found out. So for example, there was someone, I wouldn't use this example for you, but like, so I was reaching out to someone and I saw on Twitter that she had tweeted about how Facebook's dating algorithms are really off and suggested all these bad people for her to date. And so in my video, I said, hey, because I'm in data science, I said, hey, they need help on their algorithms, which is basically the formula for figuring out what the projected result will be. Sorry, that's very technical. But in the end of my video, I said, hey, hope you have some great dates this weekend. So sort of putting that human aspect, but also showing that I know about her and what she cares about on a deeper level. So if someone says
and,
what's
and I mean, if she's willing to put it out on Twitter, then she's open to hearing about it. Like, you know, she can't be freaked out that you're talking about it.
No.
She put it out there. Yeah.
Or read articles that those people have written on LinkedIn. Do a Google search. See what they've said and what's important to them. And by you reading what they care about, it boosts their ego and you show that you can invest the time. That's what's important, is showing, hey, I can show up, I can work hard, I can build trust. You know that I can do these things that are involved in this role because look, I have these LinkedIn posts, I have these videos, and then you're building that human aspect into it because you're sending them videos. But you got this. You just have to remember you're capable.
No, it's just a lot of work, which is okay.
It is. But just what I would suggest also is right now, dividing up your time into calendar blocks. And so saying, hey, my activities that I really need to get done every day is number 1, number 2, number 3. In this, I'm going to set calendar blocks to do these things. Maybe I'm just setting 20 minutes here and 20 minutes later in the day, but I'm going to set time on my calendar and that's all I'm going to do for that time. And so that will keep you organized rather than saying, okay, today I have 10 things I have to do and this is very overwhelming. But if you stay organized and you set calendar blocks, you will be able to get tasks done more productively.
Well, and it's easy. That I agree with that. But, you know, and it's also because it's easy to get distracted, especially with, you know, Slack and, you know, I mean, I sometimes just shut it down and like force myself because I'm like, it will be there in 2 hours, you know?
Yes. So that's another thing is during this search, I would focus on if through those Slack channels you can get referrals. Otherwise, during your blocks, what I do is I keep my Slack off because I will get distracted. I will lose track of time. I will start doing other tasks. And so I would say turn off Slack or put yourself as away, turn off notifications. You can set blocks also on your calendar to check Slack and be part of those communities. But be strategic about your time because you need to land a role and that's what's most important. Right. And if those Slack communities are going to help you land that role, great, put time into that. But everything else right now is should be kind of a second priority because what's important to you is landing that role.
Well, and like you said, I mean, I can still block time like at the beginning of the day and end of the day to be in Slack and then just leave it alone the rest of the day. So it's not that I'm not engaging, but I'm not like on it all the time, afraid that I'm going to miss something.
Yeah. So that was my fear. And then I realized it will be there whether I am there or not. And I need to do what's best for me. And even when some days I will not check Revenue Collective because I know that there's other work that needs to get done that pays my bills.
Right.
So just making sure that you at least just put it in your calendar and then you don't feel that kind of FOMO of saying, well, I don't know when I'm going to check Slack. I need to check Slack. But then you have those blocks built in and you say, okay, my time's up or my time's ready to go. And then you go in deeper and maybe you have even smaller blocks on your calendar and saying, hey, I'm going to look through companies that I want to work for and see who in Revenue Collective or who in Rev Genius, who in these communities are part of those companies and set time to do those specific activities. So you can even get more granular and say, hey, in terms of this activity, this is where I see benefit from these communities in my current search, in my current life. And so I'm going to really prioritize my time in these communities this way. And the challenge for me is I'll get on Slack and I won't know I'll have something in mind. It's the same when I get on Instagram. I'm saying,
oh,
I'm looking.
In.
Yeah. So making sure you have that structure and making sure you have even set out of saying like an agenda. So, hey, today I'm going to look on Slack, and then writing in and actually setting calendar blocks and then saying, you know what, I'm from, let's say 1 to 110, I'm going to be searching people at the companies that I want to work for, and I'm going to be slacking them. From 110 to 120, I'm going to do this activity. And then from 120 to 130, I will give myself time to do whatever I want. Once that time's up, I'm turning Slack off and I am getting back to my work, because what's really important is how are your activities right now going to get you to your goal?
Right.
And it can be so easy to let the peripheral stuff
that
just fill up the whole day.
Well,
You're like, oh my God, I did so much today. And then when you really think about it,
like, you know, we know
what
FOMO,
was it that's going to make the,
Yeah, we know FOMO, but then, and maybe you guys have heard of this, but somebody told me a couple weeks ago, another one is fund, fear of not doing.
Yes.
So I kind of have both of those. Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm busy, so yeah.
But then you have to, if you have that fear of not doing, you have to put it into perspective and say, what's most important? And what do you have a fear? Do you have a fear of not applying to enough jobs? Do you have a fear of not getting enough referrals? Like, try to, if you can, put it in the perspective of how can I have, because I know that I have possessed these qualities and I have FOMO and I have fund, how can I put that energy to good use and help me find a job? So maybe it's a fear of missing out on this specific role or a fear of missing out. But if you switch what your if you really focus on those priorities and align your FOMO or your fun to that, then you will keep those priorities top of mind. And the problem is and this has happened with me when I joined Revenue Collective, and I love Revenue Collective, but I would just spend hours and hours and hours on Slack because I had a fear of missing out. And then I realized Revenue Collective is not paying my bills. Revenue Collective is not employing me. So I need to make sure that I still put time into it because it's important, but I'm going to schedule that into my schedule.
And I'm leveraging, I'm doing on the bench. I mean, there's some amazing resources in Revenue Collective for where I am right now. So I'm definitely making time for some of those things, but that doesn't mean Slack has to be,
Exactly. So I would say turn off Slack when it's not Slack time. That's my biggest piece of advice. Probably the biggest game-changing thing I've done for myself.
Okay.
I was going to say, we can cut out the whole rest of this video. I'll just publish, turn off Slack when it's not Slack time. That's it.
Yes.
Yes. Nuggets from Kayla. Turn off Slack.
Was there anything else, questions you had, or anything else that I can be helpful to hopefully get you along this process?
You've given me some great, this has been super helpful. And again, it's interesting because, again, I feel like I had already worked a lot on my LinkedIn profile, but you're, all the things you said and like the stuff about the video has been super helpful because it's sort of an area I haven't gone into yet. So, no, I know how to find you.
Yes. Feel free to reach out to me. And I think
send her a drift video.
Yes, please do.
You gave it
away. But yeah, happy to share feedback. And I think the biggest piece is building out your LinkedIn, because people will look at what you're saying, your beliefs, your actions. And I think that's the most important piece is how do I build out my LinkedIn for current and future? So that's the way I think about it is in 5 years, people will see on my LinkedIn, oh, she was posting about this SDR AE working relationship.
Right.
Okay, she knows what she's talking about. And so being able to really just build that trust is so important.
I know we're almost done, but I do have one more question I just thought of. So what's your opinion? I haven't done it and I feel I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it, but some people are super vulnerable on their LinkedIn posts, people that are job searching and they, write posts about the challenges and and I'm like,
I would cater more to your audience.
Yeah.
So like, that's great for the LinkedIn community, but put your efforts into what is going to land you a job. You saying, well, here's my challenges, I don't think that's going to land you a job. I think what's going to land you a job is creating a list.
It may give me views and interaction, but it won't land me a job.
And that, in the end, that does it. Yeah. So what's really important at the end of the day is making sure that you are taking the steps to set yourself up for success in this next role. Nothing else matters. What matters to you right now, what's your priority, is finding this job.
Yep.
So post about revenue operations, post about marketing, post about things you know about, and like you have been successful, you are very capable. You just have to continue to remind yourself, I'm capable, I am amazing, I can do this. And if you need to go in a mirror and say those words. I challenge you, because it's challenging, right? And we have to say it 100 times to believe it ourselves. But when you start to say it enough, you believe it inside. And that's the problem, is people say, oh, well, I don't want to post because I don't know what I'm talking about. Or there's that confidence piece, and you need that confidence. And that confidence also shows in video, it shows in your posts. So really, by having that confidence, that will get you far. So really focus your efforts on, what do I need to do to land this role? And keep that top of mind. Maybe write it out, post it on your computer, and say, what do I need to do to land my next role? And anything that doesn't align, even if it's fun, it's a second or third priority. But what's really important is, how do I divide my time strategically to land this next role?
Awesome.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
And that's pretty much right to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been awesome, you guys. And
Yes.
we had a really, really great chat. I learned a ton of new stuff. Lisa, I'm glad that you found it so helpful.
Yeah.
And let's definitely all stay connected. And
Yes.
Lisa, I think you're in our Hire Me Slack. You can always ping me there. Hit us up on LinkedIn, and these videos will be edited and up soon. And I encourage you to share some of the highlights once they come out.
Yes. And I will be back next month. So
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Have
Have
a great
a
week.
wonderful day. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.